The Secret Spot in My Heart. A Pokemon Sun and Moon fanfic by Mrowlidash. All voice work done by me, Mrowlidash. Please enjoy the story.
Make sure you hang on tight, Kiawe shouted over the roar of the rushing wind.
Sophocles heeded his command as Charizard descended toward Volcano, and he couldn't help but be in awe, despite having seen it so many times in his computerized simulations of Alola.
"It's so amazingly big!"
he exclaimed, eyes going wider and wider as Charizard gracefully swooped low, cresting the trees.
"There's more to it than just that. Here we are."
Kiawe nodded down at Charizard as they came to their landing, right before a darkened cavern.
I don't know if that place is for me,"
Sophocles gulped, feeling his grip on Kiawe tighten even more than when they were flying.
"It's kinda dark."
"Do you trust me?" Kiawe turned slightly, smiling backwards.
"Of course I do,"
Sophocles answered automatically as Kiawe slipped out of his hold and hopped down from Charizard.
"Then come on, follow me."
"Okay," Sophocles responded, taking a bit longer to hop down, gauging the distance before landing with a slight wobble. Kiawe was already at the mouth of the cave, looking back, smiling before he turned and vanished into the darkness.
Hey, wait up!
Sophocles gathered Togedemaru up into his arms, bounding afterward.
"Lights on, Togedemaru,"
he whispered, and the electric mouse illuminated into her nightlight form.
"Thanks, much better."
The darkness of the cave was actually rather short-lived, they realized, as Kiawe's form quickly became visible again on the other side.
"This is it,"
Kiawe declared, holding his arms aloft.
"My secret spot. Nobody knows about this place."
"Whoa!" Sophocles found his mouth hanging open as he peered out over a multi-colorful body of water, shimmering and glowing as curls of steam and heat rose up off of it.
"Toki!"
was Togedemaru's reaction, the two equally stunned.
"It's so beautiful!"
Sophocles exclaimed as Togedemaru leapt out of his arms and ran to get a closer look.
"It's really pretty! It's amazing! There must be some amazing chemical compounds at work here!"
"Yeah, I'm sure you could figure out exactly why this happens. All I ever knew is that it had something to do with Volcano." Kiawe gestured at the mountain around them before turning his gaze back to Sophocles, suddenly serious. "Sophocles?" he began, sounding nervous, not at all like the Kiawe Sophocles was used to. I never should have let this happen this way," he half mumbled to himself, turning away as if the shame was too much to bear. "I'm so stupid for putting this off until it's too late." Kiawe was suddenly scolding himself, a distraught shift in his eyes.
Kiawe?"
the smaller boy questioned as Kiawe sank deeper into his own worries. "I had all this time to tell him, but I was too scared. Now I'm only telling him because I might not get another chance. This whole time I've been such a coward."
"Kiawe!"
Sophocles pleaded, pulling lightly on Kiawe's hand, bringing him back.
"Huh? Oh,"
he realized as Sophocles stared up with concern.
Look, I'm just gonna say it."
Kiawe steeled himself, taking a breath, standing up straighter. I like you, Sophocles. I mean, like you. Like feelings. Ever since the first day of Pokemon school. You were so cute and smart. I knew I couldn't tell you. I didn't want it to be weird. There was no way you'd be interested in me. And I'm not saying you should do anything. I had to let you know. And I promise.
"Kiawe!"
Sophocles interrupted, preventing Kiawe from spiraling any deeper.
You like me?"
"Yeah." Kiawe answered, emotion and nervousness both all over his face. Yeah, I do. You just, well, you make me really happy, Sophocles. I'm not gonna say it was fate or anything like that, but sometimes you just feel it, when you're with somebody. Kiawe trailed off, allowing Sophocles to hang on those words for a moment. I'd always dreamed of one day having the courage to bring you here and tell you that. I just wish it didn't have to be like this, Kiawe concluded, turning his head solemnly to look at the stone below.
I can't believe it!
Sophocles spoke into that same stone, mesmerized.
I must be the luckiest boy in all of Alola!
Huh? Kiawe realized, eyes snapping upward.
Well, yeah!
Sophocles reacted, animating, his arms waving along.
Kiawe, you're super nice and super strong. You can fly on a Charizard, and you can use Z-moves, and sure, you live on a farm instead of in a cool laboratory, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't like you back.
Like me back? Wait, are you saying?
Yeah!
Sophocles couldn't hold back a tiny hop into the air, a smile beaming on his face.
I like you too,
he giggled, arms outstretched. Kiawe didn't hesitate, accepting the open gesture, sliding his arms around Sophocles, pulling him in for a hug. His heart was going crazy. It was a good thing Charizard was here, in case he needed to be rushed to the hospital. Sophocles hummed happily, closing his own arms back around Kiawe's waist. He'd hugged his friends before, he'd even hugged Kiawe before, but there was something different, something cozier about this one. Sophocles. Kiawe's voice was suddenly lower, in a way Sophocles had never really heard before. I'd always dreamed of holding you, right here, in the warmth of the volcano.
Oh, well, I'd say it's pretty warm,
Sophocles responded automatically, a bright red hue spreading over his face.
But, yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's stay here for a while.
The two boys stood for what could have been ages, before eventually finding themselves snuggled against each other on the cavern wall. Charizard had curled up outside the cavern. They could hear his soft snoring in the distance. Togedemaru was dozing as well, the glow of her nightlight slowly powering up and down.
That's the 11th time,
Sophocles noted dutifully, and Kiawe raised an eyebrow.
That you started blushing,
Sophocles finished, and Kiawe found himself averting his eyes. I can't help it, Sophy. You're just so cute.
Sophy?
Sophocles inquired, and Kiawe quickly realized he'd slipped. Oh, sorry, Sophocles. Sometimes, in my head, I call you that, he admitted, offering up a sheepish little grin.
That's all right,
Sophocles comforted with a knowing nod.
You are acting in accordance with the data.
The data?
Yeah, you have a strong protective instinct and are driven towards cute things.
Does that mean you agree with me about how cute you are? Kiawe asked, a mischievous tinge to his voice.
No. I mean, I just...
Sophocles began, but Kiawe laughed it off. I'm just playing around, Sophy. He smirked, giving the boy in his arms a squeeze.
Well, yeah,
Sophocles recovered, clearing his throat.
Oh, I knew that,
he said at last, glancing upward at Kiawe, just as he was glancing downward. It was either magnetism or magic after that, because neither of them could stop their coming together. Thin, chapped, wind-scoured lips brushed slightly against a warm, cotton candy cloud, but only for a second, before a mutual panic set in. Sophocles floundered, covering his mouth with one hand like he was trying to smother a fire. That was my first kiss, Kiawe proclaimed for the whole world to hear, his cheeks pink and flushed.
Mine too, Sophocles added. I'm glad it was with you, he finished, tears made of a whole jumble of emotions prickling the corners of his eyes.
Whoa, Kiawe! Professor Kukui shouted as he narrowly avoided colliding with his pupil. Ha ha, sorry, Professor. Kiawe skidded to a very temporary stop, hopping from one foot to the other, keeping his energy up. He was holding a package in his hands. I guess I'm in a bit of a hurry. You're here awfully early, Kukui noted, glancing up at the dawn sky. Well, you know me. I love that fresh morning air. Alola! Kiawe exclaimed, bursting out of his stance and taking off once more, rounding a corner, out of sight. That kid is practically walking on it. The professor sighed to himself, only mildly envious. Oh, did you see that, Kiawe? He's just Lux radiating energy. Principal Oak came around the same corner Kiawe had disappeared down, his face stretched into a crude impression of a Luxray's mighty growl. He sure is, Kukui concluded, before returning to his morning routine. All right, class, I want to get a little more in-depth with Z-crystals today. We've talked a bit about the moves themselves, but the crystals play an important role. Professor Kukui began his lecture, but Kiawe found his attention slipping away. He leaned onto his elbow and fought back the urge to sigh as his eyes wandered over to Sophocles. His brow was bent just a little bit in thought. Maybe he was trying to remember something. I wonder if he's still thinking about it, Kiawe dared to ponder. I mean, he's gotta still be thinking about it. I'm gonna kiss him again today, for sure. I mean, if he wants me to. I made sure not to pack anything offensive for lunch. Should I brush my teeth in the bathroom? Oh, I didn't bring a toothbrush. Kiawe? The professor's voice cut the strings to his daydream, and it collapsed all around him, crashing back into the classroom. Huh? Was all Kiawe managed to reply, completely lost as to the contents of his lecture. I asked you how many different types of Z-crystals there were, but you seemed to be a little distracted. Oh, sorry, Professor Kukui, Kiawe admitted, knowing there was no salvaging this situation. Luckily, the professor didn't seem upset. Instead, he tilted his head back and laughed. First Sophocles during electric Pokemon, and now you during Z-moves. Is something going around? At the mention of this, Ash's Rotom Dex whirred into animation, displaying a series of percentages and giant red exclamation marks on his display screen.
Oh no! If this keeps up, Lana will forget all about fishing, and Lily will forget how to read!
At that, everybody burst into laughter, well, with the exception of Lana and Lily, whose laughter was slightly more reserved. No, I was just thinking. Sorry again, Kiawe apologized, pointedly averting his gaze from Sophocles. Oh man, I was just a huge dork right in front of him. I gotta keep it together. It's no problem every now and then, but let's try to keep our thoughts in the classroom, at least until lunch, okay? Professor Kukui mused, and Kiawe accepted his second chance with as much grace as he could muster. Okay.
Kiawe!
Sophocles jumped a little as the taller boy's hand settled down on his shoulder. He'd been standing, holding his lunch in his hands, thinking about something for so long that nearly everybody else had left the classroom. Hey, you want to eat lunch with me? He offered, voice a little unsteady, but managing well enough.
Sure, that would be great,
he responded, hefting his lunch bag upward.
You ready to go now?
Actually, I have to get something first. But how about we meet up by that new garden? Kiawe offered, pointing over at the window.
Oh Nobody really goes by there at this time.
Sophocles couldn't hold back the giggle, his imagination accidentally getting ahead of him, and causing his face to turn a little red as a result. Okay, I'll see you there, Sophy, Kiawe added before sprinting off, leaving Sophocles to burn up in the classroom by himself, at least until he recovered enough to move. The two boys had secluded themselves away in the newly constructed garden on the school grounds, a display of tall grasses and flowers keeping them relatively concealed from the outside world.
What do you got?
Sophocles watched with rapt attention as Kiawe produced a sandwich from a rather plain brown bag. Peanut butter on toast, he replied, taking a dry bite.
No jelly?
Sophocles drew back in mock horror, as if witnessing some sort of monster. You're sweet enough for me. Kiawe sailed into the line, as if he'd been expecting it to happen. Sophocles declined to dispute this, choosing instead to reach down into his own lunch bag, producing a rather impressive triple-decker sandwich of his own, hiding his developing blush behind excitement.
I call this sandwich the everything good, 'cause that's what's on it. Well, everything good in the fridge.
I bet there's something that could make that sandwich even better, though, Kiawe teased, reaching behind himself to something he'd previously been hiding, a container of his farm's famous ice cream. Just at the sight of it, Sophocles' eyes began to sparkle.
Oh, is that?
It's all for you. Made fresh this morning, Kiawe declared, tilting his chin up, proud of himself. He'd raced through his deliveries to get this to the school freezer in time.
Thank you so much!
Sophocles shot his arms outward, accepting the gift and peeling the top off of the container with gusto. Don't forget the spoon, Kiawe chuckled to himself, holding it up only for it to vanish into Sophocles' hand the moment it was visible. The boy before him set about demolishing the ice cream and the sandwich, alternating between the two, sometimes so quickly it seemed like he was eating them both at once. Kiawe slowed his bites, just observing, a smile spreading over his face. Sophocles was lost in eating, at least until he realized that Kiawe was staring.
Kiawe? Are you watching me eat?
Yeah, Kiawe admitted, breaking away, turning his head to the side, but still sweeping his eyes back to Sophocles. It's so cute when you eat food you really like. You get this look on your face, like you're floating on a cloud. It's a pure and simple joy. Not gonna lie, remembering that face you make has gotten me through some tough days. Because I knew that there would be a good meal waiting for me, soon enough. You don't take things like that for granted. I really admire that about you. Sophocles had actually loosened his grip on the ice cream spoon, letting it clunk softly back into the carton. Plus, the way you lick your lips is so sweet, Kiawe added at the end, feeling emboldened, reaching forward and pinching Sophocles' cheek.
Kiawe!
Sophocles pretended to protest, though both boys noticed he had leaned in toward the touch and not away from it. After that, however, the tone somehow shifted, silence taking over. Sophocles couldn't help but frown a little, and Kiawe leapt at the chance to correct himself. Had he made a mistake? That was too much. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not you, Kiawe. It's just that...
Sophocles started, trying so hard to figure out a way to say this. Hey, Kiawe interrupted, suddenly stern, his voice of authority coming into play. We said we were going to act normal about it.
Yeah, but...
Sophocles tried to explain, but Kiawe was suddenly so close. He felt his breath over his face. No buts. Kiawe spoke with gentle finality, his lips ghosting over Sophocles' cheek, before he dipped down and kissed Sophocles on the lips, tasting the ice cream himself, just for a brief moment. And only a moment. Afterward, Kiawe was scanning rapidly around, ensuring, yes, no one saw them. Good. He then turned a sheepish grin toward his secret boyfriend, who appeared to still be reeling from the event. I should have really given him something to recover from, Kiawe mused devilishly, but he held the thoughts back. Just had to kiss you, Safi. Don't worry, no one saw. Now, do you feel better yet, or should I kiss you a little harder? He asked, deciding, well, I might as well let him know what I'm thinking. Sophocles' face reached a level of red that Kiawe hadn't seen since the last time he used Inferno Overdrive, and he really couldn't help but smirk at his handiwork. Come on, he said, standing up, popping the last corner of his peanut butter toast into his mouth. Let's start heading back. We don't want everyone to come looking for us. He offered a hand down toward Sophocles. Sophocles managed, not quite making words, but able at least to accept Kiawe's hand, each of them feeling once again just how warm the other's skin was in this moment. As the two boys started heading back toward the school entrance, Professor Kukui stepped away from the classroom window, high above the garden. I knew it. It was only a matter of time until my students started heading down that age-old path. He spoke to the empty room. I had a feeling Kiawe was going to be first, but Sophocles? Well, you learn something new here every day. Every chance he got, he'd failed to get the words out. And now here he was, at his very own moving away party, surrounded by friends who would surely be disappointed in him and probably be really mad.
I want to sit next to Sophocles, Mallow declared, pointing aggressively to the seat to his right. No, I wanna! Kiawe's little sister, Mimo, pointed to the same seat, even as Lily tried to explain that there was still another seat available next to him. The only way to settle this fairly is if Sophocles picks himself. Lana nodded sagely, leveling calm eyes forward. Sophocles couldn't help but feel pinned to his chair. He knew he wanted to pick Kiawe, but how was he going to do it without giving everything away? There was no way he could look at him right now without blushing. No way! But wait. I know! Togedemaru! Who do you think I should sit next to? He asked his trusted friend, knowing she would come through. Togedei! The mouse leapt upward, rolling over to Kiawe and tapping at his ankle. Maru! She chirped happily, knowing she'd made the correct selection. Well, that settles one of the seats, doesn't it? Togedemaru says it's you, Kiawe! Sophocles laughed, scratching behind his head nervously. As for the remaining seat...
Mallow, the food's ready. Help me bring it out, would you? Came her father's voice from the kitchen, and Mallow found herself at a sudden disadvantage.
You can have the seat, Mimo. I won't be sitting for a while.
Mallow relented, but Mimo had naturally changed her position as well.
No, you have it. You worked so hard.
Sophocles let the voices of his friends swirl around him after that, unable to really break away from the impending dread. When they find out... Sophy? Kiawe whispered in his ear, having already taken his seat. No one had heard him, captured as they were by his sister's antics. Remember, good thoughts, he affirmed, giving Sophocles his hand a squeeze under the table. Yeah, Sophocles replied, squeezing back reflexively. Kiawe's eyes were so soft. Sophocles never wanted to stop looking into them. Hold on super tight, Kiawe instructed, and Sophocles obeyed as they lifted off and away from their friends who were smiling and waving up at them as they ascended. It wasn't far at all. It seemed like it only took one swooping arc of Charizard's wings before they'd landed directly on Sophocles' doorstep. While Kiawe was quiet, Sophocles was going several miles a minute from the moment he'd hopped down from the Pokemon's back.
"You're really not mad?"
he exclaimed, every one of his calculations off in ways he couldn't anticipate. He was so sure this would be the end of their friendship and the end of their relationship. Absolutely not, Sophocles. I'm super relieved, Kiawe said, though he wasn't sure his words were really sinking in, at least not until he stepped forward and circled his arms around Sophocles, calming him down. My grandpa, he began, told me a long time ago that love is eternal, that it's everywhere, and if someone loves you, you'll always be able to feel it. Kiawe recited, the words never having lost their meaning. As he did, he hugged Sophocles just a bit tighter against his chest. And yeah, I believe that. But
You didn't want to put the theory into practice just yet,
Sophocles finished, finally able to think straight again. Not with you, no. I really wasn't sure if I was strong enough. But now I don't have to. I can love you up close, as much as I want. Kiawe couldn't help but snuggle Sophocles just a little bit as he spoke, feeling the boy's cheek slide against his bare skin. But Sophocles broke away from Kiawe's chest, casting a pair of crafty eyes up at him.
"So you're saying you love me?"
he deduced, and Kiawe realized he'd been caught. Times like this called for bravery. Yeah, I do, was his only response as he tucked his head downward, meeting Sophocles as he rose up on his toes. Sophocles giggled as they separated with a smack of hungry lips. You want some more? Kiawe challenged, smoothing his thumbs over Sophocles' flushed cheeks.
You bet I do,
came Sophocles' eager reply, pulling Kiawe down again so quickly he nearly toppled into him. So, of course, the two boys were utterly unprepared for the door to open, lips still meshed together but eyes wide with frozen terror as Sophocles' parents stood before them. Sophocles, his father began, gesturing inside. Do you want to invite Kiawe in? Ah! Kiawe startled, flying backwards off of his feet, all bravery abandoned. No, I have to be heading home. Thank you, sir, good night. He blurted out disjointedly, tripping over his own feet and taking off on his Charizard's back without even fully strapping into the harness. Well then, why don't you—
I forgot to pack up something important from my lab!
Sophocles announced loudly over anything else his parents could be saying, taking off about as fast as Tapu Koko toward the laboratory door.
Oh my,
Sophocles' mother remarked at the kicked-up dust trail that used to be her son. Well, we are definitely found out, Kiawe sighed, stroking slowly over the top of Sophocles' head as they rested against the warm cavern wall. Sophocles didn't open his eyes just yet, content with continuing to shut out everything except the gentle scrape of Kiawe's fingers and the sound of his voice. Your parents talked to mine for sure. They haven't talked to me about it directly, not yet, but if they think I don't know what all the smiling's about, then they're underestimating me. Kiawe laughed, before relaxing once more. Hey, he eventually spoke, voice softer and cautious. Sophocles? Yeah? He finally opened his eyes, knowing that tone meant something. If you do move, ever, like in the future, Kiawe began, pulling Sophocles in just a little tighter. Take me with you, okay? 'Cause I want to see this smiling face in the morning, and I want to share my lunches with you. I want to kiss you goodnight, and I want to do those things every day.
Sophocles couldn't help but melt at a declaration like that, and while there were so many things he wanted to say, he could only manage a sputtering, "Oh, Kiawe, you may be made of muscle, but you're all mushy."
But Kiawe was ready for that, of course. "So you notice my muscles, huh?" he replied smoothly, offering up a quick flex. At that, Sophocles buried his burning face in Kiawe's chest, not quite willing to express his feelings on that topic just yet. "I'm just messing with you, Sophie." It was Sophocles' turn to wander his fingers, idly tracing some pattern on Kiawe's chest.
"I just want to say, thanks for showing me this place."
He spoke directly against Kiawe's skin, his lips and nose tickling him a little.
"And for everything."
"You know," Kiawe replied, looking out over the rainbow pool before them, "the way I see it now, this cave's a lot like my heart."
"Oh, yeah?"
Kiawe could feel the little quirk of Sophocles' brow. He was already figuring it out. "Yeah, it's better with you in it."
"I knew you were going to say that."
And with that, we've come to the end of our journey. Thanks so much for listening.